Hello, everybody. This is the Running Tales podcast, and I'm your host, Craig Lewis. Welcome again to the pod where we aim to tell the extraordinary stories of everyday runners, delving into what makes them tick and how running has changed their lives. If you want to know a little bit more about what we do, maybe take a moment, please, to check out our website. That's at runningtales.co.uk. You can find all of our previous podcasts there, as well as links to our social media pages and our Substack newsletter. So please go and have a little look at that, or just search Running Tales everywhere and you'll find us. Now, our mission is to celebrate runners who exist beyond the elite, beyond those household names. We like to champion people who achieve incredible things, change the world, or do so despite their own circumstances, whether that be addiction or illness, mental health issues, or the simple challenges presented by finding the time to run in this busy old modern world of ours. And you can help us do this by doing that like and subscribe thing. Like and subscribe the podcast wherever you listen. And if you really like what we do, then we never say no to anyone who chooses to buy us a coffee, and you'll find the link for that in the show notes. So thank you in advance. Now, this week, our guest is Adam Ross, a runner who is taking on a year-long challenge to raise money for an awareness of shelter. And for those of you who don't know, Shelter is a really vital charity which works to support families and children facing homelessness across the country. Now, each month in 2026, Adam will be completing a unique endurance challenge from 10K races to half and full marathons. And there's even a little promise that there'll be some tougher, bit different events at the end of the year. So perhaps we'll be able to coax some of that out of him. As the co-founder and director of Track Global, a marketing, sales, and distribution advisory partner for property developers, Adam is looking to use that business to raise awareness of the causes of homelessness. And that's why his year-long challenge falls under the title of the Track Global 12 in 12. He's going to be chronicling his journey along the way. And look, this is a really good way to chronicle it too. So listen, folks, before I trip over my words anymore, let's welcome Adam to the Running Tales podcast, and we'll find out a little bit more about his story. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Craig. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm sure it won't be evening by the time people listen. I always say that, and then everyone realise that podcasts aren't necessarily live, and this one isn't. So
Yeah,
it's
after
kind of
the edits, it'll be tomorrow morning maybe or the day after.
yeah, that's it. It's always mad the times we do. But anyway, I've touched a little bit on your challenge there, and I guess the first logical question is just to ask you to maybe go into a little bit more detail about exactly, well, I suppose what you've already done this year and what's to come.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that introduction, Craig. But yeah, you gave a really good overview there. So the industry I work in is property, and we work mainly on, developer side, and it's the sort of I wouldn't say luxury, but it's more of the sort of established side of the market. And we were thinking throughout last year that we want to just do a little bit more. We deal with a lot of buyers that are investors that purchase from overseas and they're buying properties here. And we always work with developers that have like an element of social housing within their schemes. And as we looked into that a little bit more, we started to realize actually, although we're within this industry and we're operating in it, the homelessness crisis here in the UK is it's a horrific problem. And it's one for me that personally doesn't get enough light shone on it. So
Mm.
we started to look at how we could help and what we could do going into 2026 and being within the industry, what it is that we can do to take some form of responsibility and try and help. And it's something that we don't see enough of. So we started to look at charities and we came across Shelter, and what they do is absolutely incredible. The funds that they raise are vital for families up and down the country to tackle the homelessness crisis. We see it everywhere, don't we? In our towns, in our cities, and it's a bit different, I suppose, when you think of homelessness because it doesn't necessarily touch every family, right? So,
Mm.
things like cancer and mental health issues, things like that are all things that I believe that we can relate to a bit more closely because that's something that, as I say, touches most families. Homelessness gets a bit of a blind eye turned to it sometimes. And with us being within the property industry, albeit on a different spectrum, we felt that Shelter was the perfect charity for us to get involved in and do what we can to raise as much money to help. And what started off with the idea of one event within 2026 It's turned out to be one event every month for 12 months, which is what that Global 12 in 12. And I suppose the reason it came along is quite funny, really. But I am someone with very little to near zero running experience in the past before. So all of this territory is absolutely brand new for me.
Brilliant. Well, I just want to touch perhaps on some of the stuff Shelter does and some of the issues of homelessness because it is an issue quite close to my heart. I used to work at the BBC and I did quite a lot of work and reporting on homelessness, and I think you're absolutely right. It is underreported within this country for various reasons, including the fact that you touched on, but also the fact that you see you see rough sleepers on the streets, and not necessarily me or you, but people's reaction is very divided. There's some people who'll be very
Yeah.
sad about it, and there's others who'll be like, "What are those people doing on the streets, making our high street look messy and cluttered, and etc. etc. etc." And so I think that means when you're looking at somebody who's got cancer, there's obvious sympathy there from everybody. You're pretty twisted if you don't feel
Yeah.
sympathy for someone who's got cancer. But when it comes to perhaps rough sleeping and homelessness, there's this ambiguity. And I mean, I remember one story which kind of concentrated my mind on it, if I just indulge in it in a second, which was I did a piece on rough sleeping in Northampton and how the numbers had gone through the roof basically, which was horrendous. And I had a sub-editor at the BBC nationally turn around and say to me, "No, it's not interesting. Homelessness is everywhere." And it took to get on the BBC's England page. It took I think it was Jeremy Corbyn to be walking into Westminster in front of a homeless man in front of Westminster before
Wow.
they thought it was a news story. And I think that kind of shows how it doesn't capture the public consciousness necessarily in the
Yeah.
way some of these other things do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that was another big reason we wanted to get involved because, like you say, when you're walking down your high street or your city centres, you almost relate homelessness with people that have just made personal bad choices, but
Yeah.
that's not always the case. It could be for a number of reasons, and actually, homelessness is a lot closer to us than you might think.
Mm.
It's a lost job, it's a bad relationship, it's parents passing away or whatever it might be. There's so many different reasons that you can become homeless or families can become homeless without the reason that everybody thinks, which is because it's probably substance abuse or something like that, and
Yeah.
it's choice related. Actually, sometimes it can be for reasons that are completely out of someone's hands. And there was a statistic that was on Shelter's website, which was the deciding factor for us, and I can't remember the figure exactly now. It was back in December I saw it, but it was 200,000 plus children over winter were homeless. Those children haven't chosen to be homeless, right? So it's not just your typical problem that you see or you'd relate homelessness to. It's there's some major issues there which don't get enough light on them, like you say.
Mm, definitely, and I don't want to get necessarily too politically bogged down in this, but I suppose the other thing that we always hear when we talk about homelessness is, well, one reason it happens is there's simply not enough new housing in this country, and obviously as somebody
Yeah.
who is connected to house building and property development and so on, I just wonder what your kind of take on that is.
Yeah, and they can't build quick enough, to be honest with you. And there's a load of reasons for that. Like you say, well, we can get political with it. There's not enough funding.
Mm.
Councils don't approve certain planning permissions that should go through. There's lots of different reasons for it, but also there's some developers that are very guilty about not building that type of social housing as well because there's not enough profit in it for them,
Yeah.
which is awful to say. But if you look at a typical development in a city centre, for example, because the acquisition cost of that land is so high, then the build cost obviously is so high. The
Mm.
profit margins for developers now are so low, they have to sell them at such high prices for it to be worth their while. And then what gets put to the side then is the lower cost housing, the stuff that's absolutely vital for those areas and for people to live in. And obviously they're getting signed off by then the council because there's big Section 106s, which is monies towards public realm and things like that. So in some respects it works, but in others it doesn't because the problem still exists and it isn't getting solved. And unfortunately, there's just not enough focus on getting that rectified.
Yeah, and I guess that's ultimately where charities like Shelter
Absolutely.
come into play. So perhaps for anyone who doesn't know about the work that Shelter do you want to maybe just give a sort of quick overview of the work they do and how they can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I've mentioned, they're an absolutely vital charity, and their main focus is on homelessness and people that are homeless and that might need help 24/7. So they have an open line that anyone can call at any time. But it goes much deeper than that, actually. Anything that gets passed through government, Grenfell, or whatever's happened, they
Mhm.
do the utmost to make sure that whatever's going on decision-wise within Parliament is the right decisions that are being made for the housing crisis as a whole, not just the homelessness crisis that we've got, which is obviously their main focus. So, like I say, it's the developments that are getting passed. Is there enough social housing in there? Are they affordable? Are families being looked after? And again, it's not just families; it's individuals. So they don't just focus on homelessness; it's the whole property crisis in the UK that we have here, and they cover all of it to make sure things are getting passed as they should.
Yeah, well, it is a superb charity, and I'd certainly encourage everyone to go and check out the work they do, and obviously to go along and I suppose put some money your way, or not your way, the way of the cause that you're doing and
Yeah,
the fundraising you're doing, and we'll stick that in
yeah,
the show notes as well. But I mean, if you do have a I don't know, fundraising page, just let us know. I know you do, so just let people know what that is now.
yeah, absolutely. So everything that I'm doing is getting documented over socials, which is Adam Ross 12 in 12. And then within the bio to both the Instagram and TikTok, there's the link to the charity page. The charity page is linked obviously directly to Shelter. So any funds that are kindly donated to that go directly to the charity, not to me or to anyone else. We can't see it. It goes directly to them for them to use for this cause.
So, Adam, here's the crux of it. Tell us what you've done so far this year, because we are a few months in already. There's a fair few to
Yes.
go, but you've ticked off a few bits already.
Yeah, so, well, I think it's fair to say I've well and truly got the running bug already, by the way.
Yeah,
I think, as I say, I've done a, I have very little experience in running. It's actually funny, I realized the last time that I ran the other day. So I signed my son up to junior park run. And as part of that, I had to go on my old park run accounts and realized that until November last year, which is when I started training for the 12 and 12, um, I hadn't ran since 2016, and within that time frame, I think I'd done four park runs, and that as far as my running experience has gone prior to doing this. So we set out to do a challenge every month. So we started off ease myself in a little bit smaller. With I say smaller, I call it smaller now. At the time, it didn't feel small at all.
yeah,
But I did a 10K over at Tatton Park in Cheshire. So that was my first event for January. Um, and it's funny how it changes your mindset over time, I suppose, because now I'm running longer distances. Then that was a mammoth of a task for me to do.
yeah, yeah,
It really was. So that was January's event. February, I ran the half marathon in Dubai. So that was again tough. It was the longest distance that I'd ran. And although it was in February, which is cooler for Dubai, I found it very difficult. I don't know if you've run over there before, but there's oxygen levels aren't like they are here in the UK. There's no natural forests, and breathing there was quite difficult. You can actually see on the video that I did for that I'm in quite a lot of pain getting around that getting around that event. But nevertheless, it was completed. And that was
Sorry, what time of the day did they do that? Because I'm assuming it wasn't you weren't out in the midday sun or
no,
anything.
started at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
did start, or was it 6:30? So it did start early, but still it's in the 20 plus degrees. And then
yeah,
by the time I got through, my wave started. I was about halfway through when the sun started peeking through. And it's more just the humidity over there. I actually lived in Dubai for a few years. I never ran when I was there. I wish I did more, but it was just difficult getting round, and you can see it in
yeah.
my eyes and face actually that I was really struggling. So that was February's event. And then March's event was the Cheshire Spring Half Marathon, where I met Dan as we spoke earlier. That one went really well for me. I knocked good few minutes off my Dubai time. And then April is the Manchester Marathon. So that is a week on Sunday.
Yeah, so this might be. I haven't probably mentioned this to you, Adam, and I should just say to people that Dan you mentioned there is Dan Braddock. People can go back and listen to Dan's episode on Running Tales a few weeks ago, so go and check that out as well. But I'm not sure exactly when this episode is going to go out. So by the time people listen to this, you may have successfully completed Manchester. I'm sure you will have done.
Yes. Yeah.
But for now, it's on the horizon. How nervous does it make you to be facing the marathon for the first time?
I am nervous, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I am. And, this is the first time that I'm doing a proper taper as well. For the half marathons, I took, some time off a few days before just to keep the legs fresh. But I've really taken, everyone's advice in terms of doing a proper taper, which started last week, so 3 weeks before, knocking those miles down, keeping a little bit of intensity, but not doing the 70 kilometers a week that I was doing prior in preparation. But the taper is making me a little bit more nervous because I'm feeling all of these classic things that I can see
Yeah.
where your brain starts to tell you that you're losing fitness and your legs
Yeah.
start hurting more than they ever did before. So actually, this first taper that I'm experiencing is making me a little bit more nervous about the marathon itself.
Yeah.
But I know it's for all the right reasons, and I feel ready. I feel confident that I'm gonna. I know I'm definitely going to complete it unless touch wood anything bad happens on the day, which I'm sure it won't. I just hope I do everyone justice.
Yeah, well done on taking people's advice on the taper. I've done. I'm just coming up to. I think it's my fourth marathon. I'm going to be doing in a few weeks, and I've done a few ultras as well. Nothing spectacular, but
Yeah,
I still haven't got the taper right. I hate it. I have massive taper tantrums every time,
yeah.
and my physio is currently telling me off because I'm running London landmarks this weekend when I should be
Ah,
I should be resting. So yeah, you are ahead of the game on me, despite the fact that this is your first time out.
yeah,
But I just want to rewind slightly because obviously, you found your cause. It's a great cause.
yeah.
You knew you had to do an event. You ended up deciding it'd be 12. But what made you, as someone who wasn't a runner, choose running as the event that you did?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to last year. So I started, I don't like calling it my fitness journey because I didn't feel like I was getting fit until I actually started running. But
Hmm.
I was significantly overweight and have been most of my life. And last year, I made a commitment to myself to get myself in better shape and lost the best part of 45 pounds in the process through lifting weights, doing light cardio in terms of walking and eating better and making better life choices and things like that. And I went on holiday with the family about October time, and this will be the sort of story a lot of people will say when they realize how unfit they were. But I was playing football on the beach with my son, and I couldn't run round for 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
I was what was perceived as being in the best shape of my life. I'd lost all this weight. I was looking good, but actually internally, I really wasn't fit, and I hadn't done anything, um, you know, to in my training to get my cardiovascular system working better. And I'm coming up to 40 now, and I thought, well, I need to do something about that side of my fitness. Um, Tried running, as I mentioned earlier, with park runs. Didn't go very well for me because I was carrying a lot of weight, and it left a bit of a bad taste of running there. And I always, in my mind, always want to do something. I feel like I had unfinished business with that. And
Yeah.
at the time, I didn't feel like I liked running, and that made me want to run, um, to have that mental challenge where I'd want to overcome that, so to speak. And also as well, I have a group of friends who already had the Dubai half marathon booked in the February. They were training a lot for it on a WhatsApp group. They were constantly posting their runs in there, all the amazing things that they're doing. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give this another go. So started running a little bit, did all the usual things, got my Strava account again and started tracking things like that. And then we were talking about the charity, and I thought, well, right, well, I'm going to join the Dubai Half Marathon, and I'm enjoying running a little bit more now. I can see some improvements, and it just spiraled from there.
Yeah, I'm going to do some extremely amateur psychoanalysis of something you just said there, which I found quite interesting. Which is, I mean, you're a business owner. We've discussed that. That takes a lot of resilience to run your own business. And you spoke a little bit about you obviously like challenges as well when you're running your own business because you can't do it with it. It's impossible otherwise. So it's
Everything's a
quite
challenge.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that you hit a barrier with running and your instant reaction seems to be to kind of go, well, I can't have a barrier in my way. I'm going to do this rather than just going, oh, this is not for me. I'm going to go off and do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my mindset on life. If there was something that I didn't achieve or something I'm not, I wasn't good enough at, although I knew that I had it in me, I had to make sure that was accomplished.
Yeah.
And it always stuck with me. And that's the same in business. If I come across any projects that didn't quite work out as I wanted to, we'll learn from them. We'll take them into the next one, make sure that doesn't happen again. But with running, I didn't do that. And those park run events are great as well. So you get a little snippet of what it'd be like on the bigger events. And
Yeah.
so they're really popular. I mean, they're popular everywhere now, but at the time back then, 2016, I knew that the ones that were being done around here in Cheshire were some of the most popular. So there was quite a lot of people that were running them, and the events are great. I was just never good at running, and because I wasn't good at it, I didn't enjoy it, and I couldn't let that one slip.
Yeah. What was I mean, obviously we've discussed you're loving it now. You're addicted to running these days. Was there a moment when it clicked for you?
Yeah, so the way it panned out really was when I remember vividly back in end of October, start of November when I decided to start running again. It's when I got back from the holiday and I'd set out to go and do a 5K from the house. So I thought I'm going to go and do a 5K. All the lads on the group are all doing these 10Ks, 15Ks, half marathons. I can go and do a 5K, right? I've done a 5K before on park runs. I bolted out the door. I got 3 kilometers in and had to stop and walk home. And I thought, right, I'm not doing this right here. And then I started to research it a little bit more. There's obviously a load more online now than there was even in 2016. Although running's been around forever, it's becoming more and more popular now. So the advice that you can get your hands on is really thorough, and started to just take that in, take my time, try to understand what my slow pace would be that I can manage, and then tried again. And then the next time I managed to do the 5K. And then you start to chip away, I suppose, don't you? And I think the thing is with running that I've found is that it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever come across, because it is quite literally the more that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, as long as you do it sensibly but push yourself enough where you're not going to get injured. Um,
Yeah.
and I just found that progression of, for example, my first 5K completed back in November was 36 minutes. I've now got that down to 22. So I really enjoy seeing my own personal progression with that, and continuing to push myself. And I suppose that's where it came from. That's where the moment clicked for me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like one of the healthiest drugs around. I mean, we've spoken in the past with other guests about sometimes how running can
Yeah.
become too much, how it can be a crutch when you need to solve other problems. But in general terms, it's one of the sort of healthiest inverted commas drugs around. And one of the
Yeah.
great things, it's like that gateway. The 5K is that gateway when you when you've done that and you've got to do the 10, you've got to do the half. Otherwise, you never get the buzz that you got when you first did that first 5K again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember those earlier runs now. I run with my wife as well. My wife enjoys running, Lily. And I remember us getting out and we were saying to each other, right, we're going to run 6K today. Can we do it? Can
Yeah.
we actually do it without stopping, and then pacing ourselves? And, that wasn't that long ago. And now I'm running a marathon next week. It's just really, really rewarding. I like things that you can do. It's the same with business, the same with relationships. If you what you put into it, you get out of it. And running is exactly that.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously Manchester is the big one at the moment, but have you got any other events booked in yet? Have you got is the rest of the year planned out in perfect business pressure on some kind of giant Gantt chart somewhere?
So it is, and then it gets wiped out, and then it gets put back on, and then it gets wiped out. So the plans changed quite a bit. To give you an example, I was going to do the Chester Triple. That was the plan at the start of the year. which is 10K in March, I believe it is, and then marathon in half marathon in May, then full in October. But by the time I got to March and the Cheshire Spring Half Marathon came up, I decided that I wanted to do that instead, because I felt like I was there with the longer distances. I wasn't happy with my time on the half marathon I got in February, so I wanted to do the half marathon again on race day to see what I got. And I think I shaved off 15 minutes or so from that, so I was really happy. So there was a plan, and there is a plan, but it keeps changing. So far, after the April marathon, May moves on to Edinburgh Marathon.
Oh,
So I'll have that the month after, which I'm looking forward to. And then from there, um, I'll be looking at ultras. So that is the plan. Um, the bigger picture is what I'd like to finish on in December of this year is a 100-kilometer ultra. That's what I would like to finish on. Will I make it there? I don't know. I would like to think that if I stay on this trajectory in terms of progress, then I can do it.
yeah,
Um, but I suppose I'll know in 2 or 3 months with how my joints are feeling, how I'm doing, if I'm still coping with all of the running. So after May, it will be booking into the ultras. So there's a few that are around relatively close to me in Manchester. There's a Wild Deer Ultra, for example, which is in June, which is 55K. So that they weren't in the original plan, so now they are. So
yeah.
that's once I've got the Manchester Marathon out of the way, I'm going to have to start booking those after Edinburgh.
Yeah. Well, just quickly, Edinburgh's one of the marathons I've done, and it's a really nice marathon. You'll
Yeah,
enjoy that one. The support there is fantastic. There's a tough bit in the middle where you kind of go out and back, which is the support kind of disappears, and that's a bit harder. But then you get
yeah,
to the end, and the support's brilliant again, and it's
yeah,
relatively flat. So yeah, you'll certainly enjoy that one. And I've been told Manchester's great too. So
yeah,
um, yeah, as far as 100K goes, I think you'll find it really interesting. If you can do the marathon, this is my theory. If you can do the marathon, you probably be able to do the 100K as long as you get it into your head that you won't be running the whole distance. And you may have
yeah.
sort of been told that already by other people, but I did the Isle of Wight challenge, and actually once I realised that I was walking, do you know what? I think I probably walked 70% of it. Um,
Yeah.
it it was easier than doing a marathon where you have to run all the time and you've got a time in your head. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely something you'll be able to do, I'm sure.
Yes, this is why I like the idea of ultras as well, because there's a lot of aid stations you can go and
Yeah,
take, 20 minutes at if you want to.
yeah,
And I suppose, again, this is all new to me, so I'm just speculating how I would feel about it. But with the marathon, I have a time that I want to achieve. I know to
mm,
do that, I've probably got one toilet break in me maximum, hopefully none at all.
yeah,
Whereas with the ultras, from what I read and what people tell me that I've been, speaking to that have done ultras, just like you said, you will walk the hills if you want to, and you can sort of take your time with it because it's about achieving the distance rather than the time necessarily. Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, when I did that Isle of Wight challenge, there was a lad who was running for the same charity that I was, and he was really interesting actually because I think he was something crazy like a 3:15 marathoner or something, so a good runner, but
Yeah,
he couldn't get his head around not running, if that makes sense. And he ended
yeah,
up dropping out after about 70K, which is still superb to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely,
But
yeah,
he wasn't done. He was just done from being able to run anymore and do what he
yeah,
thought he could do. And yeah, is that I mean, there's some exceptional people out there who can run the whole lot, but most of us won't be doing that. And it is just
yeah.
getting your head around, I'm going to do this distance. Have you got a particular one in mind yet?
So there's the Wild Deer one that I just mentioned, which
Yeah.
starts in Manchester and sort of loops around the outskirts of Manchester up into Glossop and things like that. That's a 55K. I live in right near the Peak District, in an area called Maxfield, so quite lucky really because I've been dipping into a bit of trail running around here, which has been great. So near Buxton and areas like that, so there's quite a few that go on around here. So apart from that one I just mentioned, I haven't pinpointed any yet that I'd like to do. So I'm fully open to suggestions if you've got any that I think are worth looking at.
Oh, I'll have to have a think about it, but if I do, I'll let it go. And if people, if you have any thoughts, just let us know in the comments below wherever you listen to this, and I'll pass it on to Adam, get him out there doing those ultras.
Yeah,
Trail running was actually going to be my next question, given where you are in the world.
yeah.
Is that something you've obviously got into it now? Is that something you sort of preferring these days to the roads?
So I've only tried it a couple of times. So I've been out, I've bought my Hoka Challengers. I've got the right shoes to go and do it. Because the first time that I did it, I ran in my Evo SLs, my Adidas Evo SL.
Yeah,
And it had been raining as well, and it was muddy. And as you know, there's no grip on the bottom of those. They are
no,
strictly road or track shoes. So I was slipping and sliding everywhere. So I've gone and made the correct purchases to make sure I don't get injured. But I really enjoy trail running. I really like it. I've got a family member of mine who strictly only does trail running. I mean, he is an ultra marathon runner. He's been over to Peru and done these crazy, 200 milers that last over,
oh wow,
2 or 3 days. So
yeah.
he's been giving me a bit of inspiration as well. But I'd like to do more of it. So I think that once I've got Manchester and Edinburgh out the way, then that's going to be the next thing that I tackle because it adds another element to running, which keeps it interesting as well, right? So
Hmm.
obviously, still young enough in my running journey to not be bored is the right word to say of the roads around here and the track and things like that. I'm finding it all still very interesting, but I want to do try all these different types of running and events to keep it interesting as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good mindset to have when it comes to running because one of the things I really love about it is there's so many different types of events and obviously different distances from that 5K park run up to trying to do the 100K if that's the way you go. And
Yeah,
then you can do it all on a whole host of different surfaces and so
yeah.
on as well. And I think if you love the action of running, it then becomes pretty hard to get bored of it because the variety of events is so huge.
Yeah, yeah, and to be honest, I never see a day anymore where I would get bored of running anyway because I find that it's so good for a number of reasons. It helps me massively if I'm thinking about the business day. I mean, it's quite typical for me to be out really early in the morning, 4:30, 5 a.m. Before the kids and the wife are awake, to go and
Mm.
get out there. And I just find that I don't even when I first started, I always just listen to music and things like that. Now I don't even take my headphones with me half the time because I can just think about the work day, what I've got on, what I've got to do with the kids, what needs doing in the house, and before you know it, you ran for a couple hours, and your clarity is unbelievable. So yeah, I don't see a day I'll be bored of it.
Yeah, and I guess I mean you've touched on a few of them there, but if you're speaking to people who haven't got into running, what would you say are kind of the main, I suppose, physical, emotional, mental health advantages of it?
I mean, there's tons, absolutely tons. So first of all, for anyone that's thinking about getting into running and might be a little bit nervous about it, there's nothing to be nervous about. Just get out there and give it a go. You don't need loads of expensive clothing and expensive shoes or anything to get started. Just get yourself a half decent pair of running shoes and get out the door. And I think that what you find is over time is that you'll learn to love it, but the benefits of it are massive, for people that might struggle with mental health. And my wife does, and she runs massively to help with that side of things. It's really helped her on her journey, and she's doing amazingly well. I mean, I won't touch too much on that, as I believe that's her story to tell. But she's an amazing woman, very proud of her, and running has helped her massively with her mental health. But just physically as well. I mean, they say you don't use it, you lose it, right? So
Yeah.
just exercise in general just helps with clarity, focus, and for me, it helps me keep on the straight and narrow, so to speak.
Yeah, and how are those beach games of football with the kids going?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was my son's seventh birthday yesterday, and we were playing footy in the garden for ages. And I actually stopped for a moment and thought, you know what, I'm all right here now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you see, that is such a huge thing, isn't it? That's the sort of thing where I guess where if you're sitting on the couch and you think, oh, maybe I should do some exercise or go running, you know, I suppose the temptation is to go, oh no, I can't be bothered with that. But when
yeah,
you see an end goal, like being able to have a kick around in the garden with your son,
yeah.
that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reality is as well is that if you don't run, the thought of running is scary.
Hmm.
It's unbelievably scary. You think that you're getting out on the road, you think that drivers by are judging you, you think that other runners are judging you, and you get self-conscious about it. You think, oh, my fitness isn't good enough. But even getting out and running a kilometre, and then the next time going out and running 1.5, doing it in your own way, walking, you don't have to run all of it, all those sort of things. No one's looking at you. No one's driving. You realize over time, no
Hmm.
one's bothered. These are all the things that I was conscious about, which stopped me for years and years wanting to go and run as well. And actually, when you get into it, you get a bit more self-confidence and you realize that, in fact, everyone's rooting for you.
Hmm.
When we drive past runners, me and my son and my daughter and my wife, we see a runner out, like, go on, lad, or go on, girl. Like we love seeing people out and doing that. And yeah, it's just a very daunting thing when you're not used to it. But that's why I say just get out there because you just realize very quickly that it's actually a beautiful thing and no one's judging you, everyone's rooting for you, really.
Hmm. And is park run now a far more regular part of your weekly routine than it was?
Yeah, park run. Yeah. So for my son that is actually because I'm finding the way it's working at the moment is that my long runs are scheduled for when park run it is on. But I've been doing some runs with my son and he's absolutely loving it. So I took him to his first park run on Sunday, and yeah, he loved it. His cousin runs there as well. They had a great time, and he wants to do more and more of that. So. If I'm ever not doing my long run on the Saturdays, when the adult park run is, I'll go and do it. But I'll certainly be taking my son as many times as possible each week.
Yeah, I think junior parkrun. I was saying this to someone on the podcast recently, actually. I think it's a hugely important event, perhaps even more
Yeah.
so than the adult version, because I mean I don't know about you, but I'm kind of guessing you weren't a runner. You maybe didn't do that much running at school, but nowadays there's more and more kids running and doing activities because of because of junior parkrun. It's there and it's out as a chance to do running just like you join a football club or a cricket club or whatever, there's this junior park run to go and run
Yeah.
when you're a kid.
I think it's amazing. And I think that as parents, like obviously you try different sports and things with your children, but essentially you'll do what your parents do, right? So,
Yeah.
I suppose it changes over time. Back in the day, a lot of people, grew up in pubs because the pubs were so popular for parents and things like that. And naturally, that's how it goes. But now, like fitness is such a big thing. And I think that, by me doing that now, my son's interested in running. And for me, that's great because that's setting him some not boundaries is the right word to use, but it's putting him in the right path in terms of fitness and keeping a structure and doing something that's fun as well
Mm.
with his dad that will keep him healthy. So yeah, I'll keep doing it with him, absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, I suppose going full circle, the other real benefit of running is we do see so many people who be out there doing things like you are, taking on challenges for charity. It has huge power that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, and I'll keep doing it. I mean, it'd be funny because I know now that if my son was old enough, he'd be doing some of these with me now. He loves it that much. But
Yeah.
yeah, the more people that do these type of things, the more awareness we get for the charities. And we'll get into a point later on in the year where we're going to start inviting within our business competitors and colleagues and other people to come along as well. So. I just think it's a great thing to include everyone, and we can raise some good money in the process as well, then amazing.
Hmm. Did you think this will be something that, not necessarily for you, but for people within the business, maybe even tempt a few clients along, it becomes a regular 12 in 12?
I hope so. I
Hmm.
hope it's a thing because it's getting quite a lot of attention, to be honest. And the donations that we've had now have been incredible. We set a really ambitious target, which even if we achieved half of it, it would be amazing. Um,
Mm.
but so far, we're up to around £2,000 that's raised, which is great. And I think that the messages that I get, there's so many people that seem to be inspired by the journey now as well. And it was never really set out to inspire anyone. It was to help the charity and do something good and get involved. But I think more and more people will do that. I think certainly in our industry as well, it's raising awareness in the fact that there's not enough on the social housing and that people within my side of the property industry need to do more and need to be more responsible. So overall, I think it's doing well.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that the Rough Sleeper charity I'm involved in, so it's kind of really tries to hammer home as a message is that there's kind of, people are on the streets, but there's worth in people. We need to understand the worth that these people have, and so on. And actually, I think in terms of to make what's hopefully not too tangential a connection, what running does is it really helps people to realize what their worth is, and it's such an empowering sport in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. I mean, these people that are homeless, they're human beings, right? And like I said
Mm.
before, they were maybe one bad decision away, or something got taken out of their hands that was not necessarily their fault. And like you say, running, it brings everyone together. All shapes, sizes, ethnicities, everything from everyone from you see in these marathons now, and I'll see it, I'm sure, for the first time I'll experience a marathon in Manchester. People from all over the world will be there. And in times where the world is fighting against each other, to come together at events and all be supportive of each other, despite where you're from or what language you speak or whatever, is it's great. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, 100%, Adam. Well, look, welcome to the running fraternity.
Thank you.
It looks like we've got a full-on convert here, so that's
Yeah,
that's that's great stuff. Good luck with Manchester. I wish you all the
thank
very
you.
best with that. I'm sure you'll absolutely love it. At times, you'll wonder what on earth you're doing out there because that is the marathon.
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, by the time this goes out, you'll have done it, and so I'll say well done as well. But yeah, thank you so much for telling us all about the 12 in 12, for about the challenges that are coming up, and for joining me today on Running Tales.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Craig, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Adam. Thank you everybody for tuning in to listen to the Running Tales podcast today. If you enjoy what we did, please check out our Substack channel as well, runningtales.substack.com. We have written versions of all these stories as well as other stories, our part run tales if you're a part run lover as well. So go and check all of that out. We're everywhere on Facebook and Instagram and all the sort of usual places. And please give us that like and subscribe as well. But most of all, tell all your friends about it when you're on your next run because we like people to just keep on talking about running and stories like Adam's story today. So, yeah, thank you again, and I will see you next week for another episode of the Running Tales podcast.